Hi everybody, welcome to this tutorial on Poly2. I previously recorded a video that demonstrated how Poly2 sounded, but this time I would like to go a little bit deeper and explain to you how to use it. There are two ways that you can use Poly2. The first one is as a standalone, as it is now, or you can also use it as a AUV3 unit, which I will demonstrate in another video. So the best way to learn to use it is really to use it. So let's create a rhythm, and as I go through, I will explain how to use the interface. So on the top right hand corner, we have a play and a stop button. So now it's play and now we stop. Okay, if you don't remember some of the control, on the top left, there is a question mark. Click on it and it will show you a brief help. Next to the question mark, there is a spanner. Here is where you have your settings, including creating and saving your projects. So let's start looking at the interface. So we have a nice circle here. Okay, this is where we will operate. It's like your piano roll. And just to resemble a little bit more the piano roll, let's click on this circular icon, and that will show you all the different. It's like enabling the grid on the piano roll, similar thing, by circular, of course. At the bottom right, you have 8 different colors which represent your tracks, so 8 tracks. The way to create something on the circular piano roll is really to select one color and just click on it, and here we create the first node. Let's click play. The closer you move this circle to the center, and the quicker it will play. As you can see, I was moving the circle further away from the center, this node, and therefore it will play with a lower speed, because of course the circular motion, the circumference is actually bigger or longer. So next, let's move it a little bit more to the center. Here we have on the first control a velocity, which is also represented here at the top. If I click on this right hand side of the circle where you see this red part of the screen, so you can click and move up and down, you can change the velocity. Okay, let's click play. Simple to use. The next one is we can adjust the pound left and right. Next one is more interesting. We can also adjust the length. So let's try. Which determines how long the sample is played, because each node is playing a sample at the moment. We can adjust the tuning, or we can adjust the octave, so up and down. Let's try this one. We can also increase the reverb and insert also delay. Okay, now let's create another node like so, and let's click play. I will create the nodes and I will make some adjustment. Okay, that's great. So if I want to understand what sample is being played, I would just click on this icon, which shows a waveform. And this brings me to this section where, in this case, I have selected the sample. I can also have a look at the envelope, the filter, and also the LFO. Let's stick to the sample, and if I click play, I will hear the sample being played. Of course, I need to hold if I want to hear the entire wave form. I can copy, paste, clear, undo operation. I can have it in a loop, in reverse mode, and in mono. If I'm not happy with the sample, I click on the waveform, and it opens up the ability to select other samples. So in this case, let's click on bells, and we can audition some of them. Clicking on the play icon. When we're happy, we click just somewhere, not on the play icon, but just to select it, and it will be identified by this red button. So let's click outside, and outside again, and let's click play. Sounds like a countdown. Next, let's add another node, another different sound. So let's use the second track, this one, which is white. In this case, it says there is a bass 5 wave associated to that. Let's click on the wave and let's audition that. Don't particularly like it, so let's click on that. Let's choose something different. Let's go to synth and let's play something else. I prefer this one, a bass pluck. Let's select that. Brilliant. Now let's insert it somewhere there, and let's click play. Next, what I would like to show you is, having that selected, we just click on the keyboard here, and here we go onto a screen where we can actually set the way that notes are played for the particular node or track. In this case, they're random, and the random is based on only one note DC. So if I want to include other notes, let's click a second one, like a G in this case, and let's click play. Let's adjust a little bit also the mixer. Let's click on that. Okay, now let's add a third one, this blue one, and let's add it somewhere down so it will be quite fast. And let's click play. And let's select a new waveform, and I click play as I'm selecting a new one. Okay, now I want to show you a different mode with that selection on track 3 or blue. Let's click again on the keyboard, and this time here where it says mode, and the top it says random, let's click on the right, it will say sequence. Now we can have to create our sequence. So we have only one step at the moment, which is a C. Let's click here a couple of times, And let's increase these to 8 steps. Then let's select each step and change the nodes. And let's click play. Okay, now let's make some further adjustment, like for example reverb and delay on that particular note or track. Okay, perfect. So we have seen all these controls on the right hand side of the circle. We haven't talked about these controls on the left hand side. So starting from the top, we can select actually on the left hand side of the circle, up and down. We can select the random on velocity for the particular node selected. The same, the random, the pan on the length. Also on the offset for the sample, which is quite cool. We can select how many times the pitch is repeated. We can select if to skip a bit, and also we can select the probability for playing for that particular node. Okay, so, and we can act on those to create different patterns and interesting ideas. Moving on to the left hand side of the user interface, we've seen this control to enable or disable the grid. The top one will show only the node selected. The third one will allow you to rotate up and down, rotate the nodes themselves in terms of position. And of course, we've seen the bottom one to undo the last operation. Okay, so let's click play again. Now, on the right hand side, starting from the top, we have this symbol, and this will randomize the position. As you click once and you hold, you see a new pattern, and you can release to go back to the original. The same concept is on the next one, but it is applied to colors. And the third one change instead the parameters associated to the different nodes. And of course, the fourth one, we have already seen it to duplicate different nodes. Okay, let's try. As you can see, when I press on the first two controls, there is a hold, which I can do. I'm doing at the moment with a mouse, but you can do it also using your finger touching on the iPad. There is a plus sign appearing on the left hand side of the different icons. As you are holding, if you move to the left hand side, you practically create a new pattern, which I'll show you in a second. So let's try. On the bottom right hand side, there is this checker flags icon. If you click on it, we move to the pattern section. We have a first pattern, which is the original one which we created. And we have the second one, which we just created as I was randomizing the colors of the nodes. And I can move, of course, between one to the other as I'm playing. On the bottom side, I have 4 different buttons for the effects. To show how this works, if we go to this icon here on the left hand side of the mixer, we can access the delay, reverb and distortion and EQ effects. There are 4 different patterns for those. This is the first one, and of course we can go to the second one and change I don't know, the cutoff, for example, on reverb, increase the distortion or the amount, and let's try a little bit. So first one. In this screen with the pattern selection, you have additional functionality on the left hand side. You can undo, delete, copy and paste. You can set the length of the pattern to infinite or in different sizes of bits. You can set the rates, and also you can quantize and adjust the swing as you see fit. So let's play and see how this works. Okay. Next, let's disable the pattern. Here we go. Let's go in the settings menu. Here you can set the tempo. You have the name of the current project. You can access tutorial. You can look at the saved project. You can change your MIDI configuration, look in the files, export it, look at some of the example, setting the preferences for performance, like so, adjust the clock sync, and also accessing the user manual. Let's click done. Here on top we have also a MIDI learn functionality, which allows you to access MIDI learn settings for the different controls, which is, I think, is really good. Then staying on a particular note, if we go to again to the keyboard, I show you that you can set the mode to sequencer, but there is also a third mode, which is MIDI. If you have a MIDI controller attached, you can use these to transpose, of course, use velocity, latching, setting the channel, etc, etc. In this case, let's leave it on sequence. Okay. Lastly, I wanted to show you a little bit back to the sampler. So if I click on it, we are on the third pattern. Let's play. Here we have the sampler. We can adjust the gain, the pan, the coarse tune, the fine tune, the loop crossfade. We can go into the envelope and adjust the DSR and make it active or not. We can adjust the filter, which is quite cool, and we can also act on the LFO. This is quite interesting. We can set it as active or not, synchronizing it, setting the frequency and the phase and the shape, and then we can, if you click on show targets, then you can decide which of these knobs of or parameters the LFO will actually impact. So to show that, let's pick up for example this one. you wonder what I've done now, I just clicked and held on this node, and then I move up, and that has created a solo for that particular node, like so. And then you can go out from that solo mode clicking on the X, or again swiping up and down. Let's try on the first one perhaps. Now let's add a fourth node, and let's choose as a string. This one, let's click here somewhere here. Let's play. Okay, now let's access again the sampler. Let's go onto the LFO. Let's activate the LFO. Let's move it further out as much as we can. All right. Now let's click on show target, and let's adjust, for example, the filter cutoff. In this way you can set the LFO to use the sine wave to affect to impact the filter cutoff in the filter resonance levels. I hope you enjoy and found this tutorial interesting on how to use Poly2. The next video will be again another tutorial on how to use Poly2 but as a UV3 unit. Thank you. Bye.